Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles. I'm Reverend Tomas Garza. I've got a message for you today. So listen up. You are not a sinner. There is no sin. Let me repeat. You are not a sinner. There is no sin. There cannot be. Never was, will never be. And certainly there is none now. Okay, the end. The end of this short spiritual talk. Yeah, right. If only in the world here that we've made up and seem to inhabit, if only it were that easy, right? If only we believed that. If only we acknowledged that how could there possibly be sin? What a ridiculous notion that is. How completely fucked up an idea that is. If only it were that easy. Be great, wouldn't it? Now, if we all truly allowed that truth to permeate our lives, to simply be, in other words, as it is, you wouldn't need me to talk to you. You wouldn't need any kind of a spiritual text like A Course in Miracles. There would be no need for it. We would be as we really actually are, but we would know that, in other words, experience that constantly. So, heavy duty stuff, isn't it? Yeah. You've discovered by now that A Course in Miracles has something for everybody. But one thing for sure is, as we say in the world, it's not for the faint of heart. It's very, it's lighthearted, in fact. You have to have a sense of humor on the path, but it's for serious, sincere, earnest seekers. It really is, because the Holy Spirit lays it out, Jesus lays it out for us in terms that we could see quite easily in the world as uncompromising, even harsh. But we hire life coaches in the world, we hire business coaches, we hire people in the professional world to be contrarian and to point out where we're getting in our own way and what we can do about it, right? So why run from that in the spiritual arena? It's no point, right? There's no point in doing that. All that happens when we run away from ourselves and we fail to forgive ourselves is we create delay. Samsara in Buddhism, right? If you're familiar with the term, the wheel, which is what samsara actually means in Sanskrit, the hamster wheel of cyclic existence. Yeah. In other words, to simplify it, repeating the same things over and over and over again and expecting a different result. You got it. Einstein's definition of insanity. So what do we do? Good question. Yeah. In fact, that's the question that you should be asking. Okay, so if we're in this perplexing situation that seems very painful, sometimes it seems great and orgasmic, literally, and just beautiful and full of wonder, and there's a sense of awe to it. And 5 minutes later, you're depressed or you're anxious, or you find yourself, whereas you were feeling great before, you find yourself in a fit of rage over what turns out to be the slightest thing. It happens to all of us. So this is what happens to us in the world. It's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So how do we get out of the up, down, up, down? Because we know there's a way out. We deep down know. It's why we pursue spirituality, because we know. It's that feeling of knowing that we can get off the hamster wheel, that we got on it somehow. How can we get off it? Question. So A Course in Miracles offers us the practice of forgiveness, the idea of forgiveness. And that is the workbook lesson that we're discussing today, which is lesson 334. So getting close to the end, right? I mean, the beginning. Lesson 334. Today, I claim the gifts forgiveness gives. Today, I claim the gifts forgiveness gives. So what happens here? Well, that's the means. It's said in A Course in Miracles that it's our function to forgive. It is a loving act. It's an extension of love. And this is how we come to see truly. It's how we peel away the artificial layers and veils that obscure our sight of who we really are. In other words, experience of who we really are. I don't mean sight with the body's eyes. Eyes are just mirrors, biologically, after all, aren't they? I mean, seeing things as they really are and no longer being deluded by them. Not thinking that these appearances are permanent and therefore real. Everything that we see in the world is impermanent anyway, including mountains which rise and fall. They are thrust up when tectonic plates ram into each other, and it seems like they're going to last forever, but the plates move and wind and water do their thing. Nothing lasts in this world. Why? Well, let's put it this way. In truth, there is no world. We're talking about truth here. Capital T, absolute truth, if you're a student of Eastern philosophy. That's what we're talking about. That's what Advaita Vedanta talks about. That's what a large number of Buddhist sects and traditions talk about. That's what A Course in Miracles talks about. Today, I claim the gifts forgiveness gives. This is the means that is presented to us as a gift. Forgiveness is, in fact, an illusion because there's nothing to forgive. But the qualitative difference is that it leads to the truth. It does not lead to death. Of course, puts it that way. It's the only illusion that's constructive, and we only need it while we appear to be separate from each other. A bit of the foundational metaphysics behind this, and by the way, this is not particular to A Course in Miracles. The good thing about truth is no one owns it. So whatever spiritual tradition you practice, if it speaks to you, go deep with it. I insist. So does everybody else in the world, by the way. So what are you waiting for? Forgiveness is based on the premise, truth, that there's no one out there. One way you can interpret this is that everything that we experience here, that we see, taste, touch, smell, feel, hear, is in fact going on in our own mind. There's no one out there separate from us. There is no separation of any kind. So if that helps to conceive and conceptualize, I use that word in the worldly sense, right? To understand, to make sense of it, right? If that helps, that's very good. There is no separation of any kind. Therefore, how could there be another? When someone does something that you take offense to, which happens all the time, disagree with, if it causes you to condemn and judge that person as an idiot or whatever it is, then you can be sure that you've accorded that person, that group of people, that political party, that nation state, the world itself, you've accorded it reality. It's a simple mistake. Forgiveness helps us overlook the error of separation. If there's no one out there, then the person that said something that pissed you off is completely innocent. You said something that pissed you off. And what we all do while we appear to be separated is project that sense of anger onto someone else. It doesn't feel good, so we want to get rid of it. This is what psychological projection is, and don't worry if you catch yourself doing it a lot. The important thing is to catch yourself doing it. If you don't know what's going on, how in the world can you ever be expected to make any constructive changes? I mean, that makes total sense, doesn't it? It's highly practical. So, in a very real sense, this course is highly practical. So I want to turn your attention to the prayer that accompanies this idea. Today I claim the gifts forgiveness gives. So this appears in italics at the bottom. There's one paragraph of printed commentary from Jesus, and then there's a prayer which he invites us all to recite, to read over, and to say, and to mean it. I seek but the eternal. For your Son can be content with nothing less than this. What then can be his solace but what you are offering to his bewildered mind and frightened heart? To give him certainty and bring him peace. Today I would behold my brother sinless. This is your will for me. For so will I behold my sinlessness. Beautiful, isn't it? As you see your brother, as you see your sister, you see yourself, because they are you. You're me, I'm you. We're speaking to each other. And Jesus entreats us to be loving, kind, open-hearted. These are very deep principles, and, well, it's not for the faint of heart, because your heart's not faint. All of this is for you, whether you choose to adopt these ideas or not. The course is universal in theme and application. Anyone, regardless of spiritual tradition, can take this opportunity to practice this. It can benefit you. It's not for the faint of heart. It's intended to scare the ego, which, by the way, we don't have to do anything to scare the ego. It's fear itself. It's afraid anyway. So a good sized breeze could scare that. What we're doing is we're claiming our own power. Every time we forgive, we overlook separation. We claim our own power. Your will and the will of God are one and the same. You are not faint-hearted. Therefore, this material is for you, and I invite you to practice it now, today. And will I be disappointed if you don't? No. Will someone across the world in another country, on another continent, be disappointed if you don't? No, they won't know. But you will. So I invite you to take this material to heart. You exchange what seems to be the entire world for what the Course calls the real world, which incidentally is the very last stage, and its perception ends there, because then God takes the final step, as the Course puts it, and we return to him, to who we've always been. Our will and God's will are one. So I invite you to stop playing small. You're bigger than that. You'll hear this message again from me as long as I appear to inhabit this thing that you see and hear talking to you. And you'll hear it from other people, other teachers. There are many and many spiritual traditions, because that's what the world needs. There are many doors. So if one is speaking to you, I invite you to approach it and open it. And to the extent that you're afraid to open it, that's all right. Know that you have help, you have guides, an inner teacher. Ask for help to let all of your judgments aside. Ask for help to learn forgiveness as it truly is, because each of us knows the power of what we have here. So it's up to each and every one of us to claim it. It's up to you to claim it. And I invite you to do that today. Very good, right? If you take only one thing away from this video, in fact, if you take only one thing away from this whole workbook, from the whole course, know that you are not faint of heart. So this is for you. Yes, let's leave it right there.